Right, hello everybody, welcome to HOS CRM Dev. In this video I will be looking at solutions. Now this is obviously an important area in CRM 2013 development. This is important for developers because you'll be using solutions all the time and you really need to know kind of how they work, the fundamentals about them and various aspects, and I'll be running through creating a solution and the bits and bobs that are involved with that, like publishers, etc. This is also important for the people studying for the MB2 703 CRM 2013 configuration and customization exam. So I think we can cover both things today. Right, so let's go to CRM. Firstly, actually, we'll look at that. So we've got loaded up my CRM. You will have already gone through this, hopefully. That if not, there are videos of how to set up CRM 2013 trial. Go and check that out earlier. So what's in the criteria here? First one is plan for customization. This wants you to differentiate between configuration, customization, and extending. It's a bit of a weird one that I don't fully understand what type of questions they're going to come out. I mean, it is important to know the different aspects in CRM development, i.e., what is configuration, customization, and extending, and then to choose the best tools to kind of deliver that solution to the, or resolve that problem for the customer. It seems tricky to create questions for it. It's quite sort of a personal choice. But here's a bit more standard. Manage solutions. Now we need to know about understanding business requirements, the benefits of solutions, create solutions, export, manage and unmanage, import solutions, specify a publisher, work with multiple solutions, describe solutions components and components dependencies. So there's a lot there. That's the real meat of solutions, and that's probably what I'll go through a lot today. And then the final bit is just sort of understanding how customizations work within solutions and what parts of CRM you can customize in there. But firstly, what is a solution? A solution in Microsoft Dynamics CRM is a way to package together a set of custom components that sort of deliver a piece of functionality that you want to deploy. But the first thing we should realize here is that solutions are optional. You don't have to create solutions in CRM if you want to do customizations, if you want to change the system. You can change what is known as the default solution. So with that in mind, let's go into, I've got Easy Navigate installed here, so that's my startup screen. I guess you lot will be coming in the sales dashboard or something like that. So anyway, to go to the customization screen, we go to settings. Come on. So we go settings. And then this has gone, kind of remembered what I was doing earlier. You go customizations, and then this here is where you customize the system. This accesses the default solution. So click this, you get one of those rare pop-ups. Get it within my window. So here we can see the default solution. This has got everything in CRM 2013, and it's got all of the default, everything that's changed there really. And you can see, so this gives you an idea of what a solution is. If you create your own solution, you'll be creating a solution like this, but it'll have your name, and you can then add the changes you want in there. But you can see what kind of things you can customize. Entities, each entity covers a number of things. So it covers forms, views, charts, and fields, and then you also have the relationships from that entity and the fields used there to other entities in the sort of one-to-many, the reverse, many-to-one, and many-to-many. And then you also got a new thing with 2013, business rules. So you've got entities, which are part of customizations, and then you also have solutions there. You've got other things like global option sets. You've got client extensions. This is the sitemap application ribbons. You've got processes, which are workflows, dialogues, and other ones in there. You've got your plugins, so you can, even though you can't edit plugins within a sort of the GUI solution of CRM, you can save the plugins into a solution. So when that's deployed, the plugins are deployed. SDK message processing, you've got service endpoints, dashboards, so any dashboards you created, you've got reports, connection roles, article template, security roles, an important one, and field level security, and all your templates, etc. So obviously, if you wanted to change some fields on here, you can do. You can go in to a form and an account, and you can create new. See, look here, I have already done. Yeah, so I haven't got a solution yet. So that is a kind of unauthorized, a default solution change. So I mean, you can edit the default system in CRM 2013, but I don't recommend this because, firstly, you can only export these changes as unmanaged, which you'd overwrite other system values. Well, if you changed certain fields, basically, unmanaged solutions are not good. They're tricky in a way because they'll overwrite the values, and there's no way of knowing which ones were that you've done. It's very hard to keep track of because when you've got all of the fields and all of the values, it's very hard to know which ones you've changed. So that would hard to be sort of keep track of your development. Also, it would take longer and longer to deploy, and you can't deploy unmanaged. You can't deploy the default solution into other solutions as a managed solution. So you can only deploy these changes as unmanaged, and I don't think you can deploy them to CRM Online from an on-premise. So you can do it. It's not recommended. I mean, the best practice is to create your own solution, and usually you create solutions based on business requirements or kind of sprint or releases. And then, so what usually happens, you go and get the business requirements, you split these up into either functionality based parts, like you have a reporting part or maybe a project management part, and then you'd release that code in one solution, or you'd have a sprint or release 1, 2, 3. Breaking it up like this makes it easy to manage your changes and functionality. Right, so basically we've got each CRM 2013 has a default solution. You can change it, but it's not really good practice. You really want to be using solutions. Solutions are a good way to package a group of customizations. There's no limit to the amount of solutions you can have, and you can have lots of solutions to deliver your pieces of work. So there's no limit. So you can use solutions to kind of break up the code into more manageable chunks and making it easier in the future to kind of work on little parts and only deploy the changes that you need to do rather than deploying all of the changes that you've done. So it allows you to group changes into sprints or releases, and you can even split up the solutions into kind of code or functional related ones. So you could have just entities, ones with just sort of plugins and workflows, ones with templates. There's lots of different ways you can split up solutions, and it's kind of finding the way most suited to how you work. And also you have to take into account there are groups. You might have different groups of people working on the code or solutions, and so a solution might be one way to sort of split it up into working groups. It could be offices, it could be functional or other solutions like that. So today we're going to go through and create a solution. So you go into there, solutions, so we'll just click into solutions, and now it takes us to here, and you can see that I've got two managed solutions there. The way I view it really is managed solutions are read-only. They are solutions made by people that have been packaged up, and they are uneditable, so you cannot change any of those values. I'll talk a little bit more this later, but we're going to create an unmanaged solution because this is my kind of dev environment. So we'll go for new. You create that, it brings up some choices for you, and you'll notice really before you can create a solution you've got publisher, and that's a mandatory field, so you're going to need to create a publisher. And if you click up look for more, you will then finally get the choice of add. Every CRM 2013 and 11 will have this thing called a default publisher, and that is, we'll have a look at that. This is what Microsoft creates, and you can see here that it has a prefix of new. So all the fields you create in the custom entity, the custom default solution, will all have prefix of new, so new and whatever the name is of your field, and have this for option sets. I think it's the first number it has if you create new values. I don't want to use the new one because I want my own solution, and I'll go through why that's important in a little while. But this is we want to do stuff here as well. So this is my solution. We'll call it host solution. If you don't do anything, it creates a kind of name, taking out the spaces for you, and then you've got this prefix. It's quite important because this will be added into every new field you have. So this is, if you have publishers, you can create prefixes, so you know what publishers are creating what fields and what changes and what kind of components are used in each solution. So it can be a good sort of visual way to see what fields are associated with what sort of changes, if you need to do that. You don't need to put much information there. You can have this. I think this is more if you're going to be selling things on the sort of marketplace pinpoint, that they'll have a sort of method to get hold of you. So you do that, you can save and close it, and now I can select this, so I will add that. Okay, so that's my publisher. Now publishers are important for the fact is that obviously I've gone through the fact you've got two different people customizing and changing. You'll be able to see what prefixes they've got in the fields and other components. Also, if you export the solution as a managed solution, which is read-only, which is basically the exporting to customers, or if you're selling your solution, you'd export it like that so that people can't change or edit your solution. They can only use it. But the publisher is important if you do a managed solution, because only that publisher will be able to change those fields and components used in that solution. So once you've published a managed solution with a publisher, that's the only one that can change it. The only way to get around that, or the only other change you can really make, is just uninstall it and delete it. So you need to take that into account. Right, what other things? You got display name. So really, this is not the right name. So this is HOSC solution, and because I typed it in twice, it's not put that in there. And you've got a version. Version, as I've just remembered myself, is, so it's 4 lots of numbers, major version there, major version, minor version, so 1.1, or we'd probably go 0, major version, minor version, build and revision. That's the kind of way Microsoft wants you to think about that. I think you can possibly have day. Obviously, it's just giving you the functionality to have that kind of level of versioning. Most people, most projects I've worked on haven't used it to kind of build and revision numbers. You kind of tend to just do your coding, and then once it's ready to go for testing, then you pop up a version number. But it, you may have lots in there. So basically, that's all you need to create a. So you save it, and then that's it. You're up and running. That's your solution. At the moment, obviously, it's got nothing in until you start to create things and put them in there. So if you are creating things, you just, like an entity, I want to add an entity, so I add existing, I click on account, or you can click on many, and then it says here, missing required components. So what this is saying here is, these components are required. If you were to export this solution later, these components must be installed on the system. Now, it doesn't make you select them all now, because you may have a number of solutions that have already got these particular components in, so you don't need to add them to this one. Also, you may just be assuming that these are all going to be in these will be in this sort of target system, and so you don't need to. Here you can see, look, there's one component I created, some JavaScript resource. Now that obviously probably wouldn't be in a other system, but at the moment I'm not going to worry about those other components that are required. We're just making some changes. So there you've got that entity, and with that entity you've got all your forms, all your views, all your charts, etc. And so if we just go in, let's go to field first. So to show that our publisher is up and running successfully, we can add a new one, and see here already, look, text description. And so now this field is going to be HOSC text description. So that prefix of the publisher we put in is going to be adding that prefix to all of our all of the new fields we add. So it's a good way of being able to manage the changes you're making. Also, by only adding the changes you're made or making here, it's an easy way for a number of people to work on the same project and see what has changed. You know, if only the account entity's here, then we know that the only changes we've made are the account entity, and if there's plugins, we know that only these plugins are required in this set of functionality, and this might be a solution based on a piece of functionality, say I don't know, expenses, and so we know that only the JavaScript we add, only the plugins, all of these all these components, they are the ones that are involved with this piece of either this release or this piece of business functionality. So it's a good way to sort of manage that and make it easy for a number of people. Or, you know, you may come back to this later after 6 months and they've got a bug, and then you'll be able to easily find all the stuff that you need to change. So now I'm going to talk about working with multiple solutions. This is an important concept. We have to think of solutions as containers. When this is our original dev system, the sort of source we'll say, and so all this solution is a container to manage and show the changes we are working on or we have done to this system. It doesn't stop having different solutions, doesn't stop any changes. You could have 5 different solutions and it won't really impact on anyone making any changes to the system. They could be sort of overwriting each other's changes. Just because I've got the sort of values in here in my solution, like the account, all the changes I'm making to this account entity will also be being written to the default entity. I'm writing directly to the default solution. And so, if we had 3 people working on the system with different publishers and different solutions, all the changes will still be being written to that default solution. And if someone else is working on the account entity, all their changes I would also see in my solution here, because it's just a wrapper around that account entity, and it doesn't really, we have to just think of it as a wrapper, as a container, to sort of easy for us to manage and export these changes. So the important point here is to really realise that if 2 customizers are modifying components, all the changes will automatically be changed to the default solution, and they could also appear in each other's solutions. In programming terms, this is because solutions only contain references to components, not copies. So you just have to remember they are wrappers, and if you delete an unmanaged solution, if I now delete my solution, all the changes will still exist in the system. They will not be removed, which really does show it's a wrapper. So if you wanted to then remove the actual changes, if I wanted to remove that new field I've added, you have to go into the default solution and get rid of it. So if I've talked about briefly, we've got solutions managed and unmanaged. Basically, I remember this by the fact that managed solutions are read-only. They are the solutions you export to customer environments, and really it means the end users can't change it. If you're selling this solution, people who buy it can't change it. They can use it, but they can import it in their system, but they won't be able to change any of the entities inside it. You can have there is a set of variables you can change, which allows you to sort of state whether they can change certain values. but these ones can't be done on default solutions. So let's make a sort of new, and here's the new image. Look, new one for CRM 2013. So we're going to add in a new entity just to show you that some of the values can be customizable under managed properties. So you can have entities that you create, but if you were to do managed properties in one of the default entities, these are all grayed out. You can't change any of these. But so you can allow the end users to change certain values, display name, can they add new fields, can they create new forms, and you allow these yes or no depending on whether your code changes, functionality needs certain forms or fields, or these other kind of values will be sort of detrimental. Mostly really adding extra fields that you're not expecting, that's not going to affect anything. So often I would say people don't probably change the defaults of there. One of the key points in an unmanaged solution is if you import an unmanaged solution, basically you have to remember you're changing the default solution. So if when you import an unmanaged solution, you're making changes to the default solution, and these changes cannot be changed. The only way to change these, you'll have to go into all the fields and change them back. So you have to be really careful. And really you'd never import an unmanaged solution unless it was written by like the dev guys at your own company, and even then you would think twice about it, because you just cannot roll these changes back. On the other hand, managed solutions, you import these into the system, and they can't be changed, they can't be edited, and in fact the only way so the default solution is not changed when you import managed solutions. And the only way to get rid of these is to uninstall or delete, and then you have to remember at this point is that it will delete all the data. So if you uninstalled a managed solution, all the data you put there or used will be gone. So you may want to export that data out or put it in another field, or sort of use it in another way, and you have to do that before you delete or uninstall the managed solution, because it will be gone. And even if you then imported the managed solution again, you'd just be all blank data, no records. Obviously I've mentioned solutions a little bit. This just allows you to increment the version numbers to keep track of those. And I'd also say I like to do is here in the description is like put a version number, so you have like 1.1, and then you put the changes and kind of add in the major changes you've made. I wouldn't put in all the fields I've already made. It'd be like added a new entity, added new functionality. Roughly, if I had functionality which had fields and JavaScript and workflows, I might just say added this piece of functionality and put a date there as well. Often, so this just gives you an easy way to keep track. So you can open this, not only see what versions you've got, but also see roughly what's changed. And that's only my personal preference as well. Now, as an important point here, removing components from your solution. Now you have to remember that when you remove components, it'll pop up a message saying that basically it'll pop up a message, if this component is used in other parts of the system, it'll warn you, basically saying this is used and needed, and so be careful. But there's just an important point here. Let me find this. You've got these two very similar looking buttons. They are fundamentally different. Removing it will just remove this from your solution. So if I remove that from my solution, that is just taking it outside of my solution. It's still there underneath in the core functionality, but if you press the delete button, that is going to delete it. And it's not deleting it from my solution, it's deleting the entity from CRM altogether. And because we're in an unmanaged environment here, we can do that. So they're very similar, very close together. It does pop up a warning, but you just have to be careful that you select the right one. And I haven't got anything dependent upon the HOSC entity, so it will allow me to do that. So you have components, required components. This shows that you've got dependent components and you've got required components. Required components are things like JavaScript and Teams. It will just say that we've got some that are needed here. It won't stop you removing it. It's just another warning for you. So I've got here what can be added to a solution. Basically, I don't need to go through that. You can see all the things that can be added to a solution fairly easily. What cannot be added, this is interesting, things to know: teams, business unit, queues, goals, subject hierarchy, and anything related to the product catalog. Now this is important because you may have code which uses teams, may assume, and queues, and so this data is a manual data transfer between systems. Now you've got a choice really in your code where you can look after things like names of teams or queues, or you can use GUIDs. If you use GUIDs and kind of hold them in a config, you have to be careful because by manually creating these in each system, they could have different GUIDs. If you wanted these to have the same GUID, you need to use import export, or export out of here, out of your managed solution, and import it into the new solution and have that GUID in there as a reference, and so it gets taken in the new environment. A little slide. I found a good blog post there, and it had this slide. I'm sure I've seen this slide in CRM 2013 SDK, but I can't find it again, so I'll have to reference that blog instead. It just shows you how the layers of solutions work, and you kind of got the at the bottom. You've got your system solution, the default, and then you got your managed solutions. They come next. They're applied, and then you have unmanaged solutions on the top of that, and then finally application behavior. That blog actually goes into it in more detail. I don't think you really need to know it that much, so that picture is as useful, as much detail as I'm going into. Okay, just a little note on publishing. When you publish certain components, you go through the process of saving them and then publishing them. There are other components which just appear as soon as you change, and I think things like relationships are just published instantly. In fact, as soon as you save them, they're there and don't even require publishing. But these ones do require publishing. The ribbon, entity, see, that's wrong then. This relationship does just go straight away. Fields and forms and option sets, they always need to be published and the sitemap before they appear. So I guess things like security roles, and there are some other things that just get published straight. We don't need publishing, so just take those into account. Exporting solutions. So where do you choose to export the solutions? You go back to the solutions, but there's two actually ways. You can go inside your solution. You've got export there and publish. So if you've made a lot of changes to a number of values there, you can publish them all at once, or you can publish them at I don't want that, thank you. You can publish them separately, so you can publish just individual JavaScript, individual workflows, or you can publish sort of entity-wide, so views and fields all at once. So often you can do this, publish it before you export it, so you know that all those things. Actually, while I'm here, you can see required components. You can add the required components of certain entities here by clicking that, and you can show dependencies. So this is useful to know if you've got. You can see which are dependent. So this will basically be if you've got any lookups and relationships going, then it's saying that, you know, if I've got a lookup to contact, then that contact has to exist in the new system. Otherwise, you know, I can't be exported and with fields looking up contacts if it doesn't exist in our target system. So if you've got custom entities there, you're going to need to include them in one of your solutions that you'll be sort of importing into the target system, and you've got required components. So that's a way to find these things. If you are looking for them, it'll help you work out what you need to add into your solution. We're doing an export here, so you can publish once again, and here it's a reminder me again that these are missing. You've got these sort of things outside of a solution. You can add these things from your system, like if you've got a different calendar, your email tracking choices, you can add those in to your system, and this is where you choose unmanaged and managed. I will note that you've got to be careful. If you have a managed solution, be careful importing it into your dev environment, because once you do, you'll have to remove it. It may remove some of the core entities, and so or you won't be able to edit those entities that you've been developing on. So be very careful with that. And another note here I'll add is never have an entity, have a field, delete that field, and then recreate it with exactly the same name as a different type. This will muck up the importing of the solution into your target environment, because the SQL database will just get all confused, because you'll be referencing the same name but different types, and it just won't happen. And the error messages you get will be useless, and you'll just be left scratching your head wondering why exactly your solution isn't importing. And it's probably because someone has deleted and recreated a field of the same name but different type. Do not do that. So if you delete as unmanaged, it will import the changes into another system. So this is what you'd use if you're exporting your changes from one dev environment to another, and then just before you you get it ready for customer release testing, then you'd create it as a managed solution. This is how it usually works. You may work differently. For some reason, you may want your production system to be editable. Perhaps your user wants to be able to have the very dangerous option of changing your lovely code and breaking it and then asking you to fix it again, no doubt, where you would do an unmanaged solution. The only thing I get worried about is that managed solutions, you can never unimport them really once you've imported them into a customer's target system. When I say target system, I mean the customer CRM instance. Once they've imported it there and they've added data into the entities and records for those entities, then you can't really remove that because it's going to delete all that data. So that always concerns me, but in the end you do it as a managed solution, because you don't really want the risk of your customers, users, of changing your code and putting bugs in, and it'll be different from your dev environment. So it's just not a good idea. So we'll create and see, and we'll just see what happens here when you export. It changes the text of the file. So it'll just have here your solution, the number, and then managed there. So if you want to have a look at the files, you can. So you've got these, it packages it up for you. In CRM4 it used to have these as individual things, and you can look at these and get an idea of what's involved, the fields, and the different resources which are packaged in that system. And if you had workflows, you'd have a folder, and plugins, you'd have in JavaScript, you'd have a folder above this, and it would contain those. I would advise you really not to muck around with the solution file, with any of these XML files, and try and hand edit them. My experience is it just doesn't work. It gets tricky. You get something slightly wrong, and it's don't bother doing it really. What is useful though is to keep your solutions. You always want an unmanaged version of your system, because then you can import it into another CRM system and you'll have all your changes. That is useful, that is important. This is like a backup, really, a backup without having a backup of the database and all the data. This is a backup of all your changes, so that's useful. Right, I think that is an episode today. It's gone on much too long. I do apologise for that. Someone did ask for me to do a longer video. I didn't really plan it to be this long, but there is a lot of things to talk about in solutions. They are fundamental. At least we've gone through creating one, which is very quick, but a lot of the talk is about understanding how solutions work and the various options. Hope that has been useful. Don't forget to sign up to here and subscribe to the YouTube video channel here. Join my 84 subscribers. Come and join me so you don't miss out on any other episodes.